Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Senior Cat Wellness. If you do serve at the pleasure of your feline companion, then you already know that cats are very mysterious. One minute they're rubbing against you like you're their very best friend, and the next minute, well, you're public enemy number one for possibly touching them on the belly. So, how do you know how your cat's really feeling at any given time of the day? Are they happy? Are they annoyed with you? Are they very much upset and angry? That's what we're going to be talking about here today, right here and right now, how to read your cat's mood like a pro. It's not really magic, you just need to know what to look for. And once you do, it's like unlocking a secret language. We'll start things off with the basics. What a nice place to start, right? We're going to talk about body language. Cats are quite expressive, but unlike our canine friends, their signals are very subtle. You've got to pay close attention to the smallest of things. Let's start with your cat's tail. The tail is basically an emotional gauge. It really says a lot. One could say it says everything. Your cat's tail is up high and proud, maybe with a little curve at the top, or maybe it's twitching at the top. That's a confident and very content and happy cat. They're comfortable, they're probably in a very good mood, and they might even want to hang out and spend some time with you. Maybe a cuddle session is on deck, right? But what about if that tail's a bit puffed out? That's a no-no. That means your cat is a bit scared or threatened or anxious or all of the above, perhaps. They're trying to make themselves puff up to look a little bigger, to ward off whatever they're perceiving as danger. Don't try to cuddle them right then and right there. I would suggest, especially if you're just now getting to know your cat and the ownership journey just started maybe less than a month ago, I would say don't even pet them if their tail is puffed up and looking like what I just described. Let's talk about that flickering tail, the flicking tail, the lashing back and forth sort of rapidly. That is irritation. Your cat is basically saying, hey, this is your warning. I'll give you about 5 minutes to sort of get your distance from me. If you are petting them, that tail starts to sort of whip around like that. That's sort of a cue that, hey, might want to mind your business, at least for a while. Then, of course, there's the tucked under tail, the tucked tail. That's sort of low to the ground and wrapped around their body. I think we've all seen this one more times than not. That usually means maybe a sense of anxiety, but more so they are eager and willing, right? They may not be the most comfortable, but this is a bit hard to explain because some cats can play both sides of the fence on this. Typically, it might mean they're a bit anxious, maybe even a little bit submissive. They're not as content as they would be with that straight up tail, the tail with the soft twitch at the top, but let's just call it a tweener. They're in between a little bit of anxiety and that tail lashing back and forth. Let's talk now about those ears. Ears, like the tail, can tell you a lot. What if they're pointing forward? Cat's a bit curious, maybe relaxed, maybe not on their most content vibe, but relaxed. They're engaged. Maybe they're looking at a little toy, or maybe they're looking at a laser pointer, or just sort of getting comfortable with their environment. Now, what if their ears are turned to the side a bit? That's uneasiness. That's anxiety. They're not really sure what's going on. Perhaps they just heard a sound, an unfamiliar sound. Maybe they're seeing or sensing or smelling an unfamiliar person. Something's a little bit off in the atmosphere. They don't know what, but that ear turned sideways means they're trying to check things out and figure things out. Now, if the ears are flat, I think we all know what this means, and I've discussed it on this channel several times. That's a back-off sign if there ever was one. Those ears flat and pinned back, that's aggression, which means they could be just seconds away from pouncing. If you see the ears go flat and the eyes get wide, that's a sign to stay away. Let's turn our attention now to your cat's eyes. Here again, another piece of expression, if you will. What about the slow blinking? If your cat looks at you with the slow blinks, that's a sign of absolute trust and affection. It's their way of saying that they feel super safe with you. And hey, if you want to just blink right back at them in the same fashion, hey, why not? On the opposite side of the spectrum, of course, is the wide eyes, the big eyes. I just mentioned the cat's ears going flat, going back. Look for the eyes in that scenario. The wide eyes and the large pupils. They're either very happy and excited. Man, it's not likely until they get it this way. Typically, it's they're scared or afraid of something. This is where you need to read all of the body language in total here, right? If they're running around the house with those big pupils, they could be in play mode, but chances are if they're sort of frozen in place and staring, something or someone has spooked them. And of course, now it falls on you to get down to the bottom of what exactly is going on and to ease your cat's concerns. Narrow pupils and a little bit of the, as I said, frozen or stiff body language. Here again, that points more to a frustration, a bit of annoyance, perhaps anger, but more so annoyance. Here again, one of those calling cards to sort of keep your distance until your cat sort of chills out a bit. Next up, body posture. The loaf position, I like to call it the turkey position, but we've all seen this, where the cat's got everything tucked up underneath them, right? Well, that's about as relaxed as it gets. That's relaxed, that's content. They're comfortable in their living space and perhaps just on the verge of a little cat nap. Now, what if your cat's lying on their back and that belly is exposed? Hey, in my book, this is one of the biggest signs of trust and security. Your cat's feeling super secure with you because that belly, they don't just expose it to anyone, right? It's a very vulnerable part of the body, so if they're letting you see the belly, that means they trust, hey, I can relax in this position knowing that nothing bad is going to happen. It's not always an invitation to, say, touch the belly, but that exposure alone is a sign that your cat is feeling quite content. What if your cat's a bit hunched down, say low to the ground, and those ears back and the tail is wrapped around the side of their body? Here again, this is more anxiety and nervousness, maybe even shyness or timidness to some degree. Like I refer to fireworks, a loud noise that's not too common, somebody they're just now seeing. As you could probably tell, some of these sort of do cross the streams. Some of these ear positions and body positions and tail positions, they do and they can mean the same thing. So get to know your cat, understand your cat's personality baseline. Once you know that baseline and then you see these sort of, let's call it signs and symptoms, that'll help to guide you along the way to know exactly what your cat is thinking in that moment. Now let's talk about the vocals, right? We all know about the meowing and the purring. We'll start things off with the purring. 99.9% of the time, the purr means your cat is happy and content. They can also purr, believe it or not, if they're in discomfort or pain. It's almost like a self-soother. But more times than not, it is safe to assume that purring is, it's just a sign to us outwardly that they are rather happy and content. If your cat's doing, and don't ask me to imitate it, a little trilling or a chirping or a little bit of a, I don't know, let's call it a tongue dance, maybe a little bit of a tongue dance. If they're looking out the window, we all associate that with, hey, they're bird watching, right? They're trying to charm a bird, perhaps. It's a little bit of charming and perhaps a little bit of frustration, right? Because if that window is separating them from the bird, that can be frustrating. But hey, I want to catch that but can't. That's what that sign is typically all about, or that sound is about. Excessive meowing. Now, this can mean a lot of things. It could be, unfortunately, a health concern, or it could just be flat out, I want attention. I want food. I want water. I want that litter box clean. Here again, like so many things, it's going to fall on you to get down to the bottom of what's causing this, but excessive meowing. Watch out for that. You can read your cat well if you sort of, if you know what certain meows mean. They may take on a different sound or different tone depending on what they're wanting. Of course, if you hear the hiss and the yowl and the growl, that seems to be more of an anxiety issue, a scare there, a sign that your cat could be scared or maybe even angry or perhaps even upset with you, something that you've done unintentionally. So here again, that's another sign to maybe back off and let your cat sort of chill and then maybe come to you later on for a little cuddle session. Whatever you do, if your cat is uneasy and you can pick it up and they're upset and you can recognize it, hey, just back up a little bit, let them back up, and just understand they'll come to you when they're good and ready, and that's how it's supposed to be. And last but not least, let's talk about silence, right? What if your cat is not really doing much of anything? What if they're acting a little bit lethargic and hiding and avoiding you? That's a sign, unfortunately, that something could be wrong, maybe even from a health perspective. It could be stress, but it also could be medical. So watch your cat. Pay close attention. Like I said, understand that baseline. So when your cat's hiding away and your normal active and talkative cat is not really doing much of anything, that's a red flag to you to perhaps contact your vet if they don't improve in short order. Because once you understand your cat's baseline, it can be quite easy to realize you might not know what is wrong, but you will recognize that something is wrong. So You've got all the tools in the tool bag now, so now you can read your cat's mood. It's all about being keen to the little things, that body language, vocalizations, behavioral patterns. The more you observe, and like I said again, establish that baseline of what is your cat's normal, the better you'll become at understanding what they're really feeling and perhaps what they really need in that moment. Honestly, once you start to read them better, that'll just increase that relationship. It's all about forming that bond of trust. And once you've got all of that down, you'll feel more connected, and your cat will feel more connected with you. And of course, they will trust you more. And at the end of the day, as an owner, that's really the name of the game. To the wonderful audience of Senior Cat Wellness, what are your thoughts on today's topic? Anything you'd like to add? Those personal stories to share? As always, the comment section, it's all yours. If you enjoyed this content, please give the video a like, share it out, and subscribe to us right here at Senior Cat Wellness. Until next time, we will talk to you later.